might say good morning or good evening if it is early morning or late night and you can't sleep, or if it is sometime during the day and you need to take a few moments for yourself, some time out. You're always welcome here in this study with me. So I won't tell you what time of day it is here because it doesn't matter. As you can see, I still have my pajamas on. So we're very comfortable here and there's no one to disturb us. And today I'm going to just do a little bit of Latin, some nice easy sentences and a little bit of translation so we can see the little idiomatic phrases in Latin, some of them using ablative absolutes. There will be a lot of pen and paper sounds. So I've got my pencil bag here. And my notepad with the plasticky cover. And so there will be some whispering as well, so nice, easy, relaxing. And before we start, I must apologize for the state of my hands. I hope it's not too disturbing to look at, but I've been sailing, so I've got a few little marks. So there is our notepad with the nice, shiny, smooth paper. I love to write on this paper because the ink just flows and it helps the thoughts in my mind to flow with the ink and all of the stress and tension to float away. And we're going to use a pen. Let's pick out a pen. So we've got a pencil, unerasable pen, friction pen, a little plastic fountain pen, and two erasers. There's a little precision eraser and an extendable eraser, or rubber, depending on what you like to call them. I still use the German for Radiogummi, ein Gummi. Ich liebe die Gummis. So, which pen would you like to use? The plastic fountain pen is very nice. Makes a very nice sound. I like the lid sound. We'll use that one today. And maybe a mechanical pencil as well. Do you like that sound? It's a bit clicky. Alright, I'm going to leave that open in case we need to erase something. sentences from the Australian classicist Gavin Betts, who compiled some very good examples. So I'm going to be taking some from his longer texts and using them as some examples for us just to play with. So latrante uno, latrat et alter canis. This one is very indicative. There's a nice little word of a concise Latin meaning. How we're going to express this in English, so we have our nominative, canis, dog, and we have our ablative, absolute, which means this part of the sentence can stand by itself. So we have our participle and our ablative. Latrante, latra is bark. So we've got with one barking. It's our present tense there. Latrant, with one barking. Or we can also say when one is barking in English. Or we can even say when one barks. So we can use either the present participle in English with one barking. We can use the present continuous when one is barking, or we can use the simple present when one barks. How do we know which translation we want to use? Well, let's look at the main clause. Canis is obviously our subject, so we say a dog. Okay. Now, et alter and other in direct translation, which means in English, of course, another. And what are we talking about? We're talking about dogs. And we have an adverb, statim, at once or immediately. And of course, latrat is third person singular, barks. So we have a dog barks. What are we doing with this one? This is telling us what the sentence is about, who's doing the barking, and we've got another latrat. So we can pretty much put this by itself in order to translate our English sentence here. Alter statim latrat. So, when one canis is barking, at once another barks. So we can can derive the meaning there after we fiddled with that translation a bit. And now we can put it into spoken English or decent English, if you will. So we can say when, in a case where when one dog barks, immediately another one barks, and we can add as well or to. That's the translation of this sentence. What about the translation of meaning? So we could probably say, when one dog starts barking, they all start to bark. Something like that. So this is probably a saying, and you can derive a figurative meaning from that as well. But we don't need to go into that today because we're just relaxing. Let's do another one. Tertio anno. And we'll go ahead and use our macarons as well. Okay. Senai litterai a chicherone scriptai ad senatum ad venerunt tertio anno senae literae a chicherone scriptae ad senatum ad venerunt. So immediately, just looking at the sentence, we've got some prepositions, and we have an ablative of time here, tertio anno, and that ablative points to in. So in the third year, and this will probably refer to the third year of Cicero's consulship, possibly when he was on Sicily investigating the Varus scandal. And now let's look at the verb here. Ad venerunt, so we have a third person plural in the perfect tense. Ad venerunt, veni, to come or arrive. And ad, of course, is towards or to or at, depending on our English translation. So ad is going to signify movement from one place into another. Ad venerunt, we need our subject, and we need something that is plural in the nominative, and we have it, literae, letters. And we obviously see that these two words go together. This one is almost a trick, because if you're not paying attention, it looks like old Senex. However, it is not. Senai here is from the number sextus, meaning 6. So we have 6 letters. And that's our nominative, that is our subject, 6 letters. And the rest is all details. So we have a chicherone ablative, by, with, or from, a, by Cicero. 6 letters by Cicero. Here we have our participle written, passive participle by Cicero. Ad venerunt, arrived, and in the Senate, ad senatum. So the only trick in that one, I think, was the seni. So if you were reading it really quickly, you might trip up over that. Alright, let's do another one. Put that there. Skeptra, sorry. Palatini, sedemque, petit, oirandri. So a little bit from the Aeneid, which of course is a poem, an epic, and it requires a little bit of tweaking if we're going to derive the meaning and put it into everyday English. So let's see what we can do. We've got Aeneas as our subject in the nominative, and our participle clause here, relicta. Okay, so nominative singular goes with Aeneas. Orbe et sociis et classe. Alright, so our phrase here, relicta, Aeneas, and this is but, so having left, et, both or all. So ablatives there, city, friends, and fleet. So let's write Aeneas, having left, and we can substitute his here in English, which would be understood in Latin. His city, his friends, and his fleet. Don't forget the Oxford comma there, they're very important. Now what did he do? Having left the city, friends, and fleet behind, we can even say behind, relicta, from relinquo. We still have the subject, and we have petit. So our present tense, because it's a poem, Latin often does the historic present, as it were. Something that happened is related or narrated in the present tense to give it impetus and interest. So we have he seeks, having left his city, his friends, and fleet. What does he seek? He seeks the scepter, skeptra. The scepter, and something, sedem, our accusative and a genitive. He seeks the scepter and the seat. Another genitive there. So we see these two go together, a genitive and something belongs to them, the scepter and the seat or throne. Let's put the throne, or could be the seat of power, sedemque, of, and Urandi of Evander. Okay. The Palatine, or Palatine Evander, or it's understood that the Evander is the king, and he's seated on the Palatine Hill in Rome. But all of that is contextual. If you read what's surrounding it in the poem, you really know that. So we have Evander and Palatine Hill going together and owning the seat and scepter. I think we can do another one now. Another story. The stories are good. Do you like the stories? The stories are nice because they give you something, your mind, something else to focus on. Do you know the story of Horatius on the bridge? He stayed on the bridge that led across the Tiber into Rome, or the Tiber River, and fought single-handedly against the invading army. Till he was thrown, he threw everyone into the Tiber. Let's do a sentence on Horatius. So while he was guarding the bridge, Horatius Respiciens Tres Curiatios Magnis intervalis venientes vidit. This one will be fun. Horatius. We can call him Horatio if we like. And Respiciens are present participle. Looking back. What did he do? We did, saw, and three curiosity, the enemy. Venientes, again, another present participle in the accusative, and veni, venire, so to come, coming. And if we want to embellish, we could say advancing. Okay, and here is our ablative at great or long, we can say, intervals. So Horatio is looking back to see three curiati coming towards him at long intervals, so separated like that. Alright, let's do another one. so relaxing. Okay. Hannibal. From Carthage. What did he do? Let's see. We've got several Hannibal ones we can. Let's do a nice, concise one. Nuntiato hostium adventu castra movit. There we go. Hannibal nuntiato hostium adventu castra movit. So we obviously have our subject in the nominative and our verb in the perfect singular third person, and castra, camp, in the accusative. Hannibal moved camp. What's going to give us some more information here? Which one are we going to put first? We can arrange this in several different ways in English, and we're going to put probably the most important thing first. Our participle phrase in the middle, and the action at the end. We can put the main clause at the beginning, or we could put the main clause at the end. So we have our participle clause here. That is a dependent clause. So, Hannibal. Let's put the dependent clause first, because we know we're talking about Hannibal, and this is a nuntiato adventu hostium. We have a genitive, nuntiato adventu, the arrival of the enemy. Nuntiato, having been announced. So we can put with or when, again like our first sentence. With the arrival of the enemy having been announced, Hannibal Castra camp moved. So Hannibal decided to move his camp because the enemy's arrival had been announced. After the enemy's arrival had been announced. Now if you want to look at more participle phrases and clauses and play with the verb tenses in relation to the main clause, you can watch the participle videos that I'll put right up there in the corner. But today we're trying to translate this. We're just going to say when the arrival of the enemy had been announced. Hannibal moved camp. And how else can we say that? With the arrival of the enemy announced, or having been announced. We can even put that in there, having been. Hannibal moved camp. Or we can say Hannibal, upon the announcement the arrival of the enemy moved camp. So you can see we can use quite a bit of flexibility in our translation. So there we have some playing around with some ablatives, some participles, and some relaxing scribbling. I hope this has been a very relaxing time for you. It's always good to see you in the study. Come back anytime. Whenever you need a place to relax, to unwind, to give your mind some space. Be good to yourself. Be kind to others. And as always, and until next time,